They're talented. You know, when you use a term, you talk about defensive linemen, you know, big, fast, physical. That's what they are. Obviously, you know, it starts inside with Big Dex. I mean, phenomenal player. And then, you know, you add in the three edge guys that they've got, and it's a phenomenal front. It really is.
Yeah, they were already good before they drafted Abdul Carter. What does
Yeah.
he add
You know, he's got such great energy as a player when you watch him. His change of direction, his burst, his acceleration. He can really turn the corner in a hurry.
Yeah, obviously avoiding turnovers is always an emphasis, but when you see how the game went last week and they were able to, take those interceptions down to the three, like that
Yeah.
changed the game. Is that something that you have to put a little bit more emphasis on this week?
Well, you know, like you said, we're always conscious of the ball. It's the number one thing we talk about every week. It's the, number one telling statistic between winning and losing in our league. So that's important. You know, obviously, when you look at the game last week, you would say, definitely let's try not to turn the ball over and get it returned inside our own 5. But, obviously, we're cognizant of that. You know, this is a good defense, and they do a good job in the back end having vision on the quarterback.
Look, if you noticed Kendre Miller progressed in your time with him, and what do you think of his performance?
I have. I thought his performance last week was outstanding. You know, he's obviously his ability to make guys miss. Had a couple tough downhill physical runs, and then had some runs where he created space for himself and he hit the acceleration. And impressive game by him last week.
Is that split kind of ideal where, it's not one guy maybe getting 25 touches, like I think it was 17 to 15 in the run game? Is that what you guys want to see?
Obviously, one guy gets hot a little bit, you might feed him a little bit more, but you like to have balance. And I think the two different styles of runners that we have is the thing that's, different. I kind of go back to like in Dallas where we had Zeke and Tony. There were two different style of runners, So when you have two different style of runners, it creates a different presentation for the defense and a different element when they're on the field.
I think you guys get Rashid Shaheed involved a little bit more if the deep down the field shots aren't necessarily there.
Yeah, you got to find ways to get him touches. Obviously, like you said, people are going to play shell and keep a roof on it. You can't force the ball downfield. I think we've done a good job of that. Spencer's done a really good job of being selective, and when we've taken our shots, obviously we're looking for those opportunities. And like you said, it's important that we find ways to get Sheed the ball, underneath coverage, different ways, whether it be options or slants or quick outs, whatever it may be. We got to find some more ways.
Was mixing in the run the way that you guys did an example of that? Just trying.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you can get, touches to our playmakers in space, you know what I mean? Like we talk about pace and space, we get those guys in space with the ball, good things are going to happen.
I think Kellen said something, not only did you like the run game in that matchup at Buffalo, but you wanted to sort of establish an identity with it. I mean, it felt like coming in, that was something you guys really wanted to be a big part. Was there a definite effort to be like, let's make this who we are?
Well, I think, we talked about it last week to have the front 5 together for the first time, that plays a factor in it. And then obviously, when you can establish the line of scrimmage in the run game, it's going to take pressure off the quarterback. It's going to take pressure off everybody. So, obviously, we're going to try and do that every week.
I know you guys have had obviously a ton of injuries on the offensive line just throughout even training camp, but I mean, what has Simpkins shown to you all to make him be somebody that you feel like you can count on there?
I go back to just the start of camp, and here's a guy that shows up and you don't really know what we're getting. And just watch the way he's competed every day. And then you watch when he's had opportunities, the way he's gone in and played. He's been assignment sound. It hasn't always been perfect, but for any young player, it's not going to be. But been impressed by him. Obviously, he's got to continue to improve, but he's done a really good job for us.
What do you made of the way that Spencer's been able to avoid those turnovers so far? And it's like it's a clear sign of progress from last year.
Sure, I think it's he's done a good job of understanding. I think a big part of it is understanding the plays that we're calling them, the why we're calling them, and we're going to call shot plays. And one of the things we harp on with our guys is we're going to call shot plays, give you opportunities to push the ball down the field. But if the defense is going to play shell and they're going to keep us underneath it, then you got to learn to take your checkdowns. I think Spencer's done a good job of that. And when you do that, we can continue to call them because you're going to get positive yards on the checkdowns if the defense is playing soft.
And what have you noticed from him in terms of his mentality of, the win isn't there yet in his career. He's started 10 of them, but that just seems to be pushing forward. And
Yeah, great thing about Spencer is he's process driven, and I think we all are. And we are where we are right now. You know, there's not one player or one coach that's directly responsible for our start. We're all responsible for it, so we all have a job to do. We've got to do it better.
Taysom Hill has always had uniquely Taysom Hill wrinkles throughout his whole career. Is it going to be really challenging since you don't have an OTA and a mini camp and a training camp to like, hey, here's some things we do with Taysom, like in mid-season, is it harder to get him in packages like that? Does he have to have a more traditional role?
Yeah, we started day one of training camp yesterday. No, that's reality, but you know, a lot of admiration for Taysom watching from a distance over his career and the different things that he can do. So obviously, when you have a player like that, you got to figure out, you know, how do we implement him into game plans and things like that. Obviously, we're just getting him back now, so we'll have to see how that goes.
Spencer's been like really effective as a scrambler, and like I guess you look at him, you don't think like Lamar or Josh Allen or whatever, but he's right up there with those guys. So what's made him effective in that?
Well, I know he plays faster than his 40 time. I do know that. So, you know, I think every quarterback, and we talk about this a lot, we talk about play extension. And when you talk about the quarterback position in our league, everybody does it differently. Some guys extend plays from within the pocket. They're able to slide half man, drift, create more time and space for themselves to make throws. Other guys attack the line of scrimmage and run with it. And I think Spencer's just done a good job. He's got a really good natural feel. He has really good instincts. And his instincts have led him into a lot of those runs, and they've been positive for us.
I feel like the Bills were kind of triggering blitzes off motion. Is that what was happening? When like there was a couple plays like Alvin would motion out, and then I think it was Cole Bishop would come immediately. Like is that what they were doing?
Well, you know, a lot of people, you know, may have a different blitz called, and then when you change formation strength, that triggers a different blitz. So, for example, there might be a free safety blitz that gets checked to a linebacker blitz because of a certain formation, or vice versa. So, a lot of that can depend on the team and how their blitzes are structured. I don't want to get too much into the X's and O's of it because it gives a little bit away how we tried.